I want to kind of get into this infrastructure discussion and how it relates to economic development. I want to start by kind of asking you and folks to think about the cost of failure, right? Yes, you've got
It's a great phrase, by the way.
Right?
It's cost of failure.
The economic drain of, say, traffic jams, right? Or internet outages or old aging water pipes. It's not just a convenience, right? It can be a drag on a community's GDP or the state's GDP or the nation's GDP. And so looking at infrastructure from the aspect of, oh, it's so costly put in, yeah, but the cost of failure is even bigger. And when I was working for Ethicon, and I was within the quality function of that manufacturing of healthcare products, one thing we often said is, yes, the quality costs. There is a significant cost to making a quality product that is going to not harm the end user, but the cost of noncompliance of bad quality is even greater, right? So investing in those systems and those processes to ensure without a doubt that you have quality processes and are making a quality product there's going to be a massive return on investment versus having to pay for the hiccups or the mess ups or any non-conforming product that you put out there. I think infrastructure needs to be looked at it the same way. There's a bigger cost to the failure.
Your example at Johnson & Johnson Ethicon is that you invested a lot of time and a lot of money into quality control, making sure that your products,
Quality control and quality assurance, because there's two separate things, right? It's during the process, but it's also after the process.
Well, if you don't do that, you're depending on luck. And luck is cheap. And, I'm sure there are lots of examples throughout the United States of companies that depended on luck and got away with it.
Eventually it catches up to you, though.
Always does.
Right?
Always does. We got lucky. We didn't get busted. And we're still, 20% more profitable year over year. Well, wait till a problem happens.
Exactly.
And that's, to your point on infrastructure. When it comes to infrastructure in San Angelo, we hear about it a lot. And not just directly to us at our office, but we hear about it just in the community. And it's a great topic to be discussing because it is so critical that we talk about this openly, democratically, about the infrastructure improvements that need to be made in San Angelo, not just for attracting new businesses and citizens, but for sustaining what we've got.
100%. And that's a really good point because I'm going to bring that up. But I want to kind of frame the conversation. So you've got a traditional view of infrastructure, and that's your roads, your bridges, your ports, all that kind of stuff, right? Your steel and your concrete. But infrastructure goes beyond that, I think it's fair to say. And kind of this newer view of infrastructure really touches on concepts of resiliency in your infrastructure, the digital age, and even this social infrastructure that exists. I think the key point here is that we're no longer just building, but we're building assets that have to withstand change, whether that change is environmental or economic, geopolitical. It's got to withstand change. It's got to be efficient, and it's got to be financed in a way that is sustainable for the community.
Well, and I think that the city of San Angelo is doing a great job with the resources they've got. And that's one of the things that constrains a lot of communities, not just San Angelo. I mean, it happens in Northwest Houston. That's where I'm originally from. Tremendous constraints. And it's not just like you said, bridges and overpasses and concrete. It's the water infrastructure. It's the natural gas infrastructure. It's the electrical conduit. It's the fiber conduit. And it's the redundant fiber. You build fiber, that's great, but what happens in 20 years? So you have to future-proof your infrastructure.
There you go.
And you have to pay for it now.
Yep.
Because if you don't have it, your economy will start to die. It's just really blunt.
Yeah. So I'll give an analogy, right? So if hard infrastructure, your concrete, your steel, your roads, your bridges, if hard infrastructure is the skeleton, then your digital infrastructure, your broadbands, your 5G, all of that, right? That digital infrastructure is likened to your nervous system. And then the social infrastructure, that's your schools, that's your hospitals, all that kind of more quality of life kind of piece is what you could consider like your immune system. And all three have to be healthy for the economy to thrive, right?
That's right.
Same thing with your body. Unless all three are working in concert, you're sick, you're dying, you're not healthy. The economy is moving backwards. It's retracting.
Well, and using that really good example of a circulatory system and a nervous system, the care, I mean, let's talk about a human being. You have to keep it strong. You have to exercise it. You have to stress it.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who works out at a gym would know that.
And you got to give it time to repair.
That's right. But economically, the strains are finding ways to build your economy so that you can get the tax yields in which to do these kinds of infrastructure improvements.
There you go.
That's the hard part.
Right.
The price of progress is always difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's free.
Nope. But it's going to be cheaper today than it will be tomorrow.
100%.
And so I think infrastructure really functions. I want to kind of move into how it affects supply chains, right? And it's really infrastructure functions as an anchor for the supply chain. I mean, most people know about supply chain issues because we all just went through the pandemic. So, right. So it's the empty shelves during the pandemic because everybody was stocking up because we couldn't trust the supply chain. And it's not that those shortfalls or those pain points in the supply chain didn't always exist. It's just an event like the pandemic exacerbated and allowed them to be exposed 100%.
They were the cracks in the dam.
Yeah.
That dam was holding just fine until the pressure got so great it started to breach.
Right.
Great example.
So we're familiar with it in that aspect, but I think a lot of people don't understand that for like local businesses, poor infrastructure is a permanent supply chain problem. Permanent supply, no matter where you are. But I think that today's, when you look at the national level, our industrial policy, like the CHIPS Act, right? The funding under the national construct, really what that was about and what that is about, it's about shoring up critical supply chains for your semiconductors and your clean energy kind of stuff. That's really what's at the heart of it. There's a gap in the supply chain where we're relying, it's too spread thin, we're relying on too many other players to function within the supply chain. And there's inherent risks in that. While it may be more affordable to the end user at some end, that was one of the things that got exposed during the pandemic is we were over-reliant on out-of-region suppliers within our chain. And from an economic development standpoint, our job, if we're marketing the community and the community is our asset to spur business growth or new business or what have you, or talent attraction, we have to be able to show that we have a resilient energy supply and a resilient water capacity to support what's being funded under things like the CHIPS Act, these high-tech, high-demand industries. And without that, we're going to miss out.
And the resulting tax dollars will never be realized.
Right. But
and infrastructure will suffer.
And will suffer. And so the question then becomes, the question we're trying to answer for these businesses or provide them assurances that we have these capabilities and that the story that we're telling is not a lie. It's not just a sales pitch, but they're looking at, can we get our raw materials in and can we get our finished product out reliably and affordably? And that is all dependent upon our overall infrastructure layout, the aging of it, the resiliency of it, and so forth.
Well, something else I'd like to interject is when we talk about new developments, new factories, new manufacturing facilities, new warehouse and distribution facilities, the prospect of data centers, which we've been discussing and working on.